Welcome to a new Clash of the Horns, and in today's video we're going to be talking about possible Rams mid-round players that they could be selecting in this year's draft. So with further ado, let's start with my number one player that I want to talk about, and that is Dalton Risner out of Kansas State. A lot of people are projecting him barely before the draft to possibly be a late first round pick, mid second round pick. So if the Rams end up deciding to trade their first round pick for more picks, then this is a guy we should look into the second round at the left guard position. He's listed as a tackle. He's played center, he's played guard, but I think with what a lot of the scouts are saying, he's more of a power guy. He does a better job in the interior than he does outside because of his lack of speed. His footwork needs work. So I think at the tackle position, he won't be as good as he would be as an interior lineman. He has a 6.03 grade by the NFL. He's highly ranked by Pro Football Focus. One thing about him though is his weaknesses. I think you can work around that if he's put in as an inside lineman. They're saying that he lacks speed, and also his footwork is diminished by like elite speed pass rushers. But his best strength is his actual strength. And actually, I think he did a really good job against one of the toughest defensive lines in the NFL against Mississippi State. He actually did really well against them. He started off strong, but then obviously as the game went on, he actually worn down. But he's actually the best lineman in that whole offensive line. And if they can't keep their own, then I mean, he actually did well individually, and I think he did a good job throughout his senior year. So that's one name you should look into, Dalton Risner out of Kansas State. Like I said, the Rams will need interior help at the left guard positions, mainly because of Roger Saffold leaving. I don't think physically Joseph Noteboom would be the ideal left guard, mainly because of his lack of strength, but he's more of a better tackle with his speed plus his strength. And I think Dalton Risner would actually be a really good fit for the Rams if they were to select in the second to third round. Next player that I want to bring up, Cameron Smith out of USC. Decent size, 6'2", 238 pounds, graded highly by Pro Football Focus. Decent grade by the NFL, 5.54. One of the knocks on Cameron Smith is his physical ability. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the flashiest inside linebacker, but he does everything well. Like his technique, he can tackle at pass coverage. His strength is his ability to react quickly, his play recognition. He's a very smart guy. He doesn't get easily fooled by play action passes and counter steps, and he's very efficient in space and only moves when he needs to. So especially against offensive linemen that, you know, push around Corey Littleton and move Mark Barron with ease, Cameron Smith is more of a bigger type of inside linebacker. He's harder to move around, so he does really well against blocks against inside offensive linemen. So that's one thing to look at. His run defense will improve the Rams. Like, that's one thing he does very well. The only knock on him is his ability, his speed, just the flashiness of the position. He's not going to be like a Devin Bush or that one linebacker from LSU. I forget, Devin White. So he's actually a pretty efficient inside linebacker that the Rams should really look into, because other than Corey Littleton and Micah Kiser, I don't know who else is there on the roster. This will be a really decent pickup. They're saying that he's about a 4th to 5th round draft pick, so that helps. And there's more upside than anything with when it comes to Cameron Smith. He did a pretty decent job at USC, and I think he will fit well with Wade Phillips' system. If I were to compare him to any player, it would be Blake Martinez from the Packers. Not the most athletic guy, but he tackles, he reads defenses very well, especially in zone. If you were to go one-on-one against a tight end or a running back, that would scare me because of the lack of speed. But if he's going against simply just zone or trying to stop the run in the interior, that's going to help out the Rams a lot. He will not be moved around as easily as other guys like Corey Littleton has. But that's just my 2 cents with that. Moving on to the next player. And since we do need cornerback help, especially after, Aqib Talib ended up getting hurt, so it was Marcus Peters and Troy Hill and Nickell Robey-Coleman. This player out of Notre Dame, Julian Love, makes a lot of sense to me, especially with his under-the-radar decent grade by Pro Football Focus and the NFL at 5.84. He ran a 40-yard dash at the combine with 4.54. And he's done a really good job that has gone unnoticed by the rest of the league. He's projected to go in the 2nd and 3rd round, and he's had a good career with Notre Dame. Posted 32 pass breakups, 4 interceptions over the last 2 seasons with Notre Dame. He has a really good smooth back pedal and does not panic in open space. So that's one thing about him. He does a pretty good job against every wideout, and he's really good at both zone and man. So that for sure would be beneficial with the Rams, especially being man-to-man corners, more of a man-to-man scheme at the 3-4. So I think he will develop quickly. If we were to, let's say, keep Aqib Talib for maybe 2 more seasons and then let Marcus Peters walk and then bring in a guy like Julian Love, that would probably be the best thing, because I don't think Marcus Peters is more of a man-to-man corner. He does good when Aqib Talib's there, and it's harder to, he's not going against a one-on-one best wide receiver, but I've seen enough where I know Marcus Peters is not a man-to-man type of corner. He's more of a zone guy. So if we can bring in a guy that does both pretty well, pretty decently, like Julian Love out of Notre Dame, then I think that's going to be beneficial to the Rams in the future. One thing, though, his weakness is his size. He's not a big corner. He's not a very physical corner, but he's good at coverage. That he's very good at, and I've noticed that. He gets banged around by wide receivers, and they'll have if he goes against a big body type of wide receiver, he does struggle against them. But against faster wide receivers, he does a really good job against those. So a lot of people are telling me that Julian Love is a possible first-round draft pick, but I don't see any of the teams taking him in the first round. He's going to probably go mid-second, early third. So if the Rams can get Julian Love, that'll be a really good draft pick. The Rams need a corner, and I think he will fill in that need for the Rams. Moving on to the next player, Will Harris out of Boston College. Had a pretty decent grade in the NFL Combine, 5.36. They're looking at him as more of a rotational type of free safety. He did play with John Johnson, and one thing about Will Harris is with John Johnson, they did very well together at Boston College. He's projected to go late 4th, early 5th round. So if we were to maybe not get any safety and then decide to maybe develop a safety, he'll be perfect because of the chemistry that he already has with John Johnson. Plus, he's more of a bigger type of safety that can hit, and he's actually very athletic. So he's 4.41 second 40-yard dash, and he's 6'1", 207 pounds, 20 reps on the bench. But one thing, if you can develop his coverage skills, this guy will develop very nicely. Imagine having 2 John Johnsons. That would be scary for the Rams defense. You have to go against Aaron Donald and all these other pass rushers, guys we brought in, plus a pretty good, decent corner depth. And then you have 2 John Johnsons back there. That's pretty amazing. But Will Harris, to me, makes a lot of sense because he can go against the best tight ends. He's a larger type of free safety, so that's one thing that a lot of people didn't like about LaMarcus Joyner was his small stature, but he did pack a punch and he was pretty decent at getting interceptions. But Will Harris can do that, possibly more. His potential is pretty high, and I think he'll do a great job. The only thing is, some of the weaknesses listed about him is his closing skill to disrupt in coverage, waits to see rather than feel it from zone, and he'll get caught flat-footed at times. That's basically the only negative things I've heard for Will Harris, but his strengths are his size and length, He's a tough guy that is not afraid to fly around and hit people. He does a great job against tight ends, rarely gets lost in coverage, and he's a heavy hitter. So I like him at like the late 4th, early 5th round, and the Rams get him, and they'll have 2 Boston College safeties in the back that know each other, great chemistry, and I think that will be a really good thing to see at the draft and see what the Rams do. Now my last mid-round pick, and I think this speaks for Iowa in general. Iowa does a great job of developing defensive backs, whether it's slot corners, outside corners, or your safety. They do a really good job of developing defensive backs. And Amani Hooker from Iowa is the ideal safety. If the Rams don't get guys like Darnell Savage or that guy from Washington, that free safety from Washington, and they wanted to maybe pick up a safety in the late 2nd, mid 3rd round, Amani Hooker is a perfect candidate. He does everything well. He has a 4.48 second, very physical, 5'11 type of safety, highly graded by Pro Football Focus. I think they're the 3rd or 4th ranked safety in the draft. 5.80 grade by the NFL. He does great everything, man-to-man coverage, zone coverage. He can go against. He's like a perfect hybrid safety. I like his coverage skills. I think having 2 great coverage safeties will benefit the Rams in the long term. He does a decent job of tackling. I don't really knock him on that, but I think his speed and his knowledge of the game is going to give the Rams an upper edge. I do believe that. Amani Hooker is projected to go from 2nd to 4th round, and he'll be a great pick for the Rams if we end up deciding to go that route. So let me know what you guys think. Tell me if you guys are looking at any of these players, or there are other players in the mid-round that you think the Rams should go and draft. Until next time, you guys, go Rams.